All right, everyone, and welcome back to Talking Soccer. I am Justin Horniker. We got some more Man United news to talk about because the Casemiro deal came pretty quickly. It's already done. The former Real Madrid midfielder is set to have his medicals in Manchester this weekend, assuming that he will not have that and his actual visa in time to play on Monday's game if Monday's game happens, which is something I talked about in an earlier video, something I will talk about next week as the game comes on. But it's a 60 million in that range transfer deal, which is the second highest of a over 30-year-old player outside of Cristiano Ronaldo's Juventus deal. It's interesting because Casemiro, at face value, is one of those defensive mids who is a game changer, who can, just totally transform your midfield. Like, I know him and N'Golo Kante are completely different players, but I think of their ability to just put their stamp on a game as, so important. Last saw Casemiro in the whatever competition that is, the Super Cup, I don't know, where they played where Real Madrid played Frankfurt, and Casemiro had the best game, was the reason that Real Madrid could win so handedly and just really put their mark on that game. Casemiro is that type of player, and it's hard to really overstate how important of a player he is, how skilled of a player he is, and just how commanding of a player he is. Like, Real Madrid are going to be, hurting without him. That is to say, I'm sure they'll be able to find a replacement pretty quickly, and I'm sure they have known about this potential, and because they're a well-run club, unlike a team that, was floated Casemiro earlier this week and got the deal done. It's very strange, I guess. Well, let's talk about that. Leading up to the Casemiro signing, it was De Jong, it was Rabiot, and then all of a sudden Casemiro's name comes up after Rabiot had decided not to agree on terms with United, or him and his mom agent didn't agree on it. And there is this real feeling of downtrodden around the Man United camp, and that's, culminated in the fan protest and all the Glazer out kind of sentiment, and that's still definitely there. But if you come into the summer knowing that you're going to sign Casemiro, knowing you're going to sign Lisandro Martinez, knowing you're going to sign Christian Eriksen and Tyrell Malacia for the future, that's a pretty good transfer window at face value. So before you peel back those onion layers, and before you dig any deeper into it, that's a good offseason. Maybe not a great offseason for a team with the ambitions of Manchester United, but that's a really good offseason that definitely makes this team better, especially when you look at Paul Pogba leaving and just his overall attitude and messiness of the locker room. I think it's good. Like, it's a good transfer. It's a good player to bring in. Problem is, there's still, what's the direction, right? You look at the direction of this team, they've needed defensive mid for years. They've needed defense for years. They need help everywhere. And maybe that changes. Anthony sounds like he is going to make it difficult for Ajax to hold on to him, has made it known that he wants to be in Manchester with Erik ten Hag. And if your transfer window turns out to be Anthony, Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, three, and Lisandro Martinez as well, 3 to 4 players who are going to make an immediate impact this year, and then players to the future in Tyrell Malacia, who is probably going to make an impact this year as well, as we saw it with the subs, and Ten Hag loves bringing them on. So, through the first 2 games at least. So we can see that turnover is starting to happen. Ten Hag's starting to put his stamp on this team, on this roster. Casemiro is interesting because I don't think of him as a young player who is going to be here for the future. He's kind of like a world-class stopgap, if you will. I should get struck down by calling Casemiro a stopgap, but Casemiro is kind of a stopgap, as Ten Hag is going to need to move on from him towards the end of this contract. I think it's a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option. Years 3 and 4 are going to be when Man United are kind of looking to compete for a title, ideally, if you're Ten Hag. So it's interesting to see what the later stages of this contract look like. But even then, a 33-year-old, 34-year-old Casemiro, still probably a world-class player. So this is a really good deal. I don't think you could, 60 million, even though he's older, even though you're probably not going to get a sell-on fee ever for him. I don't think there's a price tag you put on a player like Casemiro. And, I'm not writing the checks, but why do I care? You know? So anyway, I think it's a good deal. I think it makes United better. I'm worried about Monday's game still. And we'll see what happens from here. It's just like, I think my general attitude, and I'll feel much better after the transfer window. I'm just tired of seeing United linked with literally every Juventus, every Real Madrid player. There was a swap linked today that Maguire would go to Chelsea, that Pulisic would come back. And like, yeah, if you're Manchester United, you'd bite someone's arm off to take that a second. But like, that's not real. There's no way that's a real swap that Chelsea is considering. So it's just like you're tired of reading the transfer rumors and just seeing everything being in play when I would say like 25% of it is ever something that's gone beyond the stages of calling up a team and asking, So I think my general fatigue is just around transfer rumors in general. And like, you get to transfer deadline day and happens every freaking year. The sentiments are entirely different than they were during the window. But the problem is you got to play games during the window. And when you start off 0-2 with a 4-0 loss to Brentford and potentially a humiliating loss to Liverpool potentially coming up, like you start your first 3 games with 0 points, that's rough, even if you come out of the transfer window an inherently stronger team. So I guess that's just where the sentiment is. We'll talk about it more on Monday. If you're subscribed to this channel, and if you aren't, you should be. There should be an NWSL video coming up this weekend. I'm actually just about to head out the door after I edit this video to go to the KC Current Angel City FC game. So expect some coverage on that and expect some more videos along the future. I've kind of set a schedule for myself of at least Monday, Wednesday, Friday, some content on the weekends every once in a while, most of the time. So make sure you subscribe, give this a thumbs up, follow me on Twitter at HornickerJustin, on TikTok as well, making that content through the Soccer Talk Lads podcast page. So follow Soccer Talk Lads podcast on Twitter, on TikTok, and we'll talk soon.